Yeah.
Yeah, that's biting.
What about right here?
That feels fine.
Okay. Roll that in right there.
Good.
Roll
Good.
it right there.
Okay.
90 right there.
Yeah, it was actually kind of crazy. This feels like a huge movement. And then when I actually watch the video, it's like this big of a movement, and I'm like, oh my goodness.
Yeah. It was different.
Okay. Could you explain the joint and cartilage thing again, since I have it recording?
Oh yeah. The way the cartilage gets the diffusion it needs is actually through some of that weight bearing. So if you're non-weight bearing in a joint for a prolonged period of time, it starts to actually kind of degrade and it's not quite as healthy. And so you want to be able to put a little bit of weight through whatever joint it's going to be, especially more relating to the knee and the ankle, not so much with the hip, because we want to protect what's going on inside the hip. That was repaired, but obviously not so much, not putting so much pressure through there where it bothers that, it dismantles that. But it still gets a little bit of that diffusion through the actual articular cartilage that surrounds the bone. Some cushion around it.
So maybe every now and then lightly push to the ground just so it kind of gets that pump.
So like if you're like sitting on the side of the bed, if you're sitting on the side of the bed, lean back so your hip isn't at 90 degrees and it's at a lesser degree. So you can put your feet through the ground and sit there and do some of your ankle pumps that way.
Okay.
And like kind of put some of the weight through your leg that way, where it's not compressing the actual hip joint, but you're still putting some weight to the ankle and a little bit of weight to that knee as well.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
And then your body's like a car. You don't want your car to sit in the, if you have a really nice car, you don't want it to sit in the garage for years, right?
Right.
It's pointless. And all of the machinery on the inside won't work quite as well if you let it sit there for years. But if you take your car and try to drive it from Florida to Washington, it's too much, right? There's always a happy medium, and sometimes you gotta go to the mechanics.
Something you explained last time, and unfortunately I was hoping we had caught it on the camera before we had to stop, that I'm hoping to get on the audio, was you were explaining about, that's actually irritating right there a little bit, was the way bone and soft tissue repair. I can't really quite think of how to explain it the way you did it, just it made so much sense as to how that labor and repair actually takes hold. Since it involves bone and tissue, and I was kind of hoping you could re-explain that.
Yeah, so like whenever you break a bone, it takes about, bigger bones, it's going to take longer, smaller bones less, but it's going to take about 4 weeks for a broken bone to be able to form a soft callus. And then around 6 weeks it forms into a hard callus, and that's when it needs to typically start doing some like weight training or something like that, or some resistance training, really light and progress stronger. Soft tissue though is going to take longer. Basically, it's going to be anywhere from, you'd say 6 to 12 weeks, 8 to 12 weeks, or you know around like 6 weeks, that's where the labrum, the soft tissue, is adhering down to the bone in a little bit stronger fashion, right? But before that, it's still sensitive, it's still tender, and you can disrupt some of the connections that it's having or that it's forming. And so, whenever you're, depends on what it is, like at 6 weeks, we're going to be able to do a little bit more. You know, now at 6 weeks, you can start putting more weight through this. That's the reason why. We know that the labrum is starting to heal down, scar down a little bit stronger, and then it progressively strengthens and strengthens until around 12 weeks is when we can start doing typically a little more city, a little bit more vigorous activities, like if you were going to start doing some light impact, typically that's going to be around 12 weeks.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. And is the labrum kind of the same as any soft tissue that you would find around as far as its repair, where it gets that soft and it adheres, then it gets harder, just like the bone would?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it lays down some loose, or it starts to form some of that new tissue, some of the scar tissue, and then gradually it starts to harden up. And so if it's like a tendon that you're repairing, whenever it initially repairs, it's weak connections and they're kind of jumbled up and they're not organized. And then that's when we start doing a little bit more of the strengthening, whenever you clear the phase where it's strong and we know it's not going to disrupt, but we can start applying some of that pressure to it, some of the movement, some of the resistance to it, and eventually what the body's going to do with that stronger tissue is it's going to start to realign like that. Okay. And that's whenever, like, and typically it's a little more with the tendon, but even with the labrum, it's going to scar down. And then whenever we move it around, and we're doing some of this stuff, it may not be in weight bearing, but we're going to start moving that around to kind of shape that without disrupting it. Okay. So there's always that happy balance, and if you do too much on it, it's going to start to talk to you, and that's whenever some of the spasms and the trigger points around the pain and inflammation is going to be set off. And so even like little movements, like you getting in and out of the car, you spending all day out going to Lowe's and going to Walmart, even if it feels good, that you're doing a lot more movement than you probably realize, and that's whenever it's going to start to get angry, especially before like 3 weeks. That's just a whole lot of movement on there. Once you get farther out, the pain's down, you don't have many of those trigger points and spasms and all that inflammation go on. That's whenever you can start to do a little bit more as far as spending more time out in the community. Little task initially after surgery, in your mind, especially on a marathon runner's mind, you're used to running freaking from morning to dawn. Not, a trip to Walmart is nothing for you.
Right.
Corner of the hip right now, quite a bit.
Fair enough.
There's another thing too, like where you shave down the bone too, that's still like they shave that part down, and it'll actually form a soft callus on that, and then it starts to harden out. Like you shave it down, it's basically like an open scab, and it's super tender, and so that's why like you go past that. One, it's gonna stress the labrum. Two, some of that pain, some of it's that bone that's just like biting on you, and it hurts. You don't want to do that because it's like you get off and you can keep it down and make it. It's not going to undo anything, but it's really hard to differentiate between the bone just being continued and the labrum being stretched, so you don't even have to.
Fair enough. Hi everyone, thank you for watching this video. I hope this helped explain how the body is currently healing and how unfortunately we cannot speed it up. It's amazing how small the movements are right now, but how big they feel. Just remember, small movements can make for some big progress. If you're enjoying these videos, please hit that subscribe button and watch